There is no evidence in all the exhaustive inquiries we've made that suggests any crime has been committed or that there is any third-party involvement in Nicola's disappearance.
Hello and welcome to True Crime Rocket Science, the most authentic voice in true crime. If we count the 27th of Friday, the day Nicola disappeared, then she's been missing for 20 days now, almost 3 weeks. After 20 days, the Lancashire cops say there is no reason to believe there was foul play involved. That has been the position of this channel ever since the second video.
At some time around 9:20, we believed that Nicola's handset had moved towards the bench area. Again, there have been questions raised about her phone, whether that would have been in her possession when whatever happened has happened. But again, I'd just like to point out that it's really normal for Nicola, when in a Teams call, to be holding her phone out in front of her, listening to it. And we can say, from a witness that knows her that morning, that is what she was doing. So that would explain why she doesn't have her phone in her pocket, as I know a number of people have raised. We then know at about 9:33, a local dog walker who is walking a dog comes across the bench and finds Willow untied, running between the bench and the gate. The mobile phone is on the bench, face upwards, still logged into the Teams call, and Willow's harness is halfway between the bench and the riverside.
Now, of course, we, like law enforcement, need to keep an open mind. We need to stay curious. We need to not dig ourselves into a particular mindset, but we also need to be realistic. We need to look at what the evidence is showing and also what evidence is not there that you'd expect to. Evidence that you would expect, if it's not there, where does that take you? You do need to be going in one direction or another after 3 weeks. And that's the question, are you going in the right direction? Now, according to the BBC, Assistant Chief Constable Peter Lawson told the press conference the force had received no information to date to steer them away from their main working theory. But he added that all lines of inquiry were being investigated. And so the cops have actually maintained 3 working theories. What are they? Well, the first one is that Nicola could possibly have gone into the river, in other words, the accident scenario, that there could have been a third-party involvement, that's a foul play scenario, and then thirdly, that she could have left the area voluntarily, in other words, that she kind of ran away, perhaps ran away with someone else. Those are the 3 theories. And they've said that these 3 theories have remained in place throughout and are reviewed regularly. And obviously, which one of those theories do you think is the most realistic after 3 weeks at this point? During the press conference, they also brought up a few lines of inquiry, and we got confirmation on what happened during those lines of inquiry. And we'll deal with that in a moment. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do like, share, leave a comment. You can also hit the thanks button. By the way, I've been getting quite a lot of praise for the last video I did, the last live stream. So I'll put a link to that in the description. Check it out. It might be something, perspective that you haven't considered before. Certainly not in true crime. So you might want to check that out. And let's get started. So we have confirmation on those few lines of inquiry. Remember, there was the glove that was found. Well, they've said that does not belong to her. They've obviously probably checked with her partner. Is this her glove? Perhaps they've done some tests on it. Also, the red van, that was something that came up very early on, that 2 people thought was worth reporting. And that was seen, I think, 20 minutes to 10 that morning. And they said that was not being treated as suspicious. And then they've searched the derelict house 3 times, and they say Nicola is not there either. Now, as far as I can see, there is 0 reference to any suspicious individuals in terms of this press conference. They don't go in that direction at all, let alone a suspicious pair of individuals in the police presser. And that is despite what social media has latched onto. You have some people even referring to that in the titles of their videos. Now, I understand what's going on here. You know, that Nicola fell into the river by accident is obviously not what people want to hear. It's not even what her family want to hear. And you can imagine Paul can simply not imagine that something like that can happen to his beautiful partner, the mother of his children. He can't imagine that something so silly, that an accident can actually happen. And so in a sense he would prefer some more serious kind of scenario, you know, that something silly didn't happen to her. And, you know, at a casual glance, I've looked at a few other channels that show videos that are casting suspicion on, well, somebody. And that is the popular thing. People want to blame somebody. But we've been here before, haven't we? The police insisting no evidence of foul play, but social media and their followers insisting they know better. And so I want to ask you, this is a serious question. Take a pause at this point, because we don't know for sure either way. I'm certainly not saying 100% it was an accident or 100% it was foul play, right? Either of those positions isn't really appropriate. But I think we can be reasonably sure it is more likely one thing than the other. And so, do you think it matters to be accurate? Do you think it mattered to be accurate right in the beginning? Do you think it mattered to be accurate at about a week and a half? Do you think it matters to be accurate now? Do you think it matters to be logical? Do you think it matters to have authentic true crime analysis? Or is it okay to be told what you want to hear? Do you think it matters more that you are told what you want to hear? Do you think it's better if whatever theory you have, that you are told, and that seemingly everybody else has as well, should that matter? Now, as I say, we've been here before, and we know how true crime on YouTube tends to deal with this. Don't trust the police. Believe in us. We know better. And so what has just happened in this press conference? Well, we've gotten some information that we didn't really know, some details that we didn't really know. But no, social media knows far more than the police do. I do think it's important to hold social media responsible for its sins as well. And so I want to ask you if you're being responsible, and are you being responsible in terms of the creators and speculations you're following? Because even in this press conference, just as we had in the Coburger case, we are seeing social media emerge as one of the villains of the story as well. We've seen Smith criticize the social media speculation, saying that it has significantly distracted the police, adding that TikTokers have been playing their own private detectives. He said, in 29 years in the service, I've never seen anything like it. Should social media, especially in true crime, take responsibility? Or should you just be allowed to think whatever the heck you want to? In my opinion, I would say the police are correct. It's not really rocket science to determine whether foul play is a possibility or not. All you do is you check the CCTV. Nicola and a perpetrator would have to leave the area, even if there were blind spots. There would be areas beyond those blind spots where a car would have to drive, and you would have to see something going, and we know exactly the time that this happened. We've got that 10-minute window. So we know exactly the day that this happened and basically the time that this happened. And so in order for the foul play theory to work, you would see that on CCTV. Well, have we? The way we saw it in the Eliza Fletcher case, the way we saw it in the Idaho case. Also, since Willow could get under the fence near the gate, that's been demonstrated. It's clear that Nicola wasn't taken that way or any other way. Willow was where she was because that's where Willow last saw Nicola. And yet, once again, we've got confirmation. Willow was between the bench and the gate. Why? Because that's where Willow last saw Nicola. Saw. With Willow's eyes. The same way my dog saw me going into the store yesterday and then jumped out the car and followed me. Because he saw me there. He didn't sniff me there. He saw me there. And so he was in the area where I was when he last saw me. Detective Superintendent Smith, who is the lead investigator in the case, said it remained her main working hypothesis that Miss Bulley has unfortunately gone in the river. In other words, whether by accident, and that's still a possibility, she could have been pushed into the river. I don't believe that's the case, but she could have been pushed in the river as well. She could have tripped or something, or slipped and gone into the river. But the hypothesis is that she is in the river. She went on to say she cannot be 100% certain of that at the minute because it is a live investigation. That's accurate. And so maybe she's 80% certain or 70% certain. But that is the emphasis that the law enforcement are making. She says, we are in the 20th day. We have had a thorough, dedicated, meticulous investigation, and there is not one single piece of information, not one single piece of information that's come to note that would suggest that Nicola has left those fields. So we will only know for certain what likely happened to Nicola when she's found, and to some extent where she's found. One thing that I think is worth highlighting is that the center of the Wyre is often a lot deeper than the rest of the river because floodwaters scrape and scour the center of the riverbed far more than any other part of the riverbed. And that's something I experienced on our own farm, on our own river, when we had floods. We once had floods that were a mile wide, and then once those waters receded and there was a drought, you actually saw the V shape, that the river had been scoured into kind of a V shape, and the center was very deep, and then over time that filled up with soft silt. And so could the scanner see into such a deep sort of ravine? And it does that because that is where the water moves the fastest, through the central part of a river in general. And I'm not sure if scanners have been able to scan that deep. So the final thing I want to say is that a reference was made to Nicola's vulnerabilities. I don't know what that refers to, but I think it might refer to a medical situation, something like possibly a heart condition, possibly epilepsy. I don't know. I just suspect that vulnerability refers to some kind of medical situation. What do you guys think? Thank you for listening, and I'll see you guys next time.